If this becomes the defining moment in this campaign, and Missouri is never an easy state, there's no way that Mitt Romney can become president the way I do my math in my head without winning the state of Missouri. I think if it becomes a particularly close Senate race and a battle for the Senate, and this becomes the defining issue in the campaign, would you be willing to live with the fact that maybe this comment, ill-advised as it is and wrong as it is, and that you've apologized for, if this becomes the defining issue in the campaign and you lose that race and it impacts the top of the ticket in the state of Missouri, have you thought about the consequences of that?
I certainly have. And, I've just run a very tough primary race in the state of Missouri. And I know the values of the people of our state. I know they're staunchly, a great number of them are pro-life, and they're conservative. They're very concerned about our economy, and the fact there's been no budget in the Senate for 1,000 days. We came through that primary, and I was very strong as a conservative on those points. And people had a choice to look at some other candidates as well, some that spent a whole lot more money, did a lot more attacking. But I stuck to just basically our conservative principles. And I have a sense that we are still a people of forgiveness. And when people make a mistake and they're honest about it and they say it was a mistake, I believe they'll move on. And they're going to be looking at the things that have to be done to take back America. And one of the things that has to happen is we've got to win this Senate seat. I still believe that I'm in the strongest position to do that. Claire McCaskill voted one way. I voted the opposite of her. She's all on board with Obamacare. I voted against it 30 times. And when I get to the Senate, I hope to be the vote just like she voted to get it in. I'll be the vote to get rid of it. She voted for the stimulus bill, and that's also a big, tremendous mess. I voted against it. So we're exactly, obviously, exactly opposites. And I think that this campaign is more than just one TV interview.
Let me first acknowledge one thing.
Failure.
Let me first acknowledge, if you're going to ask me if there's a double standard for conservatives versus their liberal counterparts, I mean, just look at what Vice President Joe Biden said last week. Just look at the numerous things that have been said about Governor Romney, this ad that accuses him of being a murderer. And the national media ought to look at itself, because you are now a big national story today, and they ought to look at the ad and look at where Romney was at the time when this company in Kansas City was closed down, et cetera. It's unconscionable they haven't called out the president on that ad or, really taken issue with Harry Reid and his unnamed sources, and that Romney's a felon and he didn't pay his taxes, and Obama, in his own words, saying Republicans want dirty air and dirty water. But here's my big fear, Congressman, if I could just be blunt with you.
Yeah.
We're 51 votes needed to repeal Obamacare, hold the Senate. Sometimes that an election is bigger than one person, and I think you'd agree with that.
That's entirely my perspective, Sean.
And to me, I am very concerned, and I know many other conservatives are as well, because they have all written me today, that if you stay in this race and this becomes the defining issue of the race, and there is a timeline now in play here, that this could then put the entire state of Missouri, this Senate seat, and even the top of the ticket in jeopardy in Missouri. And that is, so I guess what I'm saying is, yeah, there's a double standard. Absolutely. Is it unfair? Absolutely. Do I think you're sincere in your apology? I bet you are. Do I think you misspoke? And yeah, I think you did. And am I willing to let people misspeak? I've always said about everybody that everybody ought to be allowed to revise and extend their remarks. I don't believe in boycotts. I don't believe in shutting people down. I believe in accepting people's apologies. The left doesn't accept them, though. And why do I imagine in the next 79 days that the issue in Missouri is going to be these words regurgitated again and again and again? And I personally, I think it could be harmful to the whole party, to the whole state, to the whole idea of capturing the Senate, to the whole idea of Mitt Romney doing well in a state he has to win.
Yeah, I understand that perspective, and I guess the other way of taking a look at it was, look, we just came through a very complicated primary. There were people who were not strong on their conservative, as strong as I was anyway, and there was no one that had a record of voting exactly the opposite of Claire McCaskill.
No, you won fair and square in the primary, and I understand it was a close primary. I totally understand that.
Right.
But that's not the issue that I'm talking about at this moment. At this moment, I really do believe, and I've said this about Bill Maher, he should be allowed at times to apologize and revise and extend his remark. It was actually conservatives when he first got in trouble about comments that he made about our soldiers being cowards. There was people like Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, Mark Levin, and others that defended him. But we also have to acknowledge one simple truth, that there is a double standard. And for example, have you thought that this could be the defining issue in the campaign, which would serve as, a potential loss for a Senate seat?
Well, and that is the big question, Sean. And my sense is people will understand when you tell them, look, I'm not perfect. It's possible to make mistakes, but there's more than one word spoken in one sentence in one day, and that is the entire record of a senator who's sold us down the river. A senator who's just happily sustaining trillion-dollar deficits every particular year, and somebody who is the winning vote on Obamacare, and somebody who's just all the way down the line is a big government, big spending, more rules from Washington, D.C. She wanted to give the EPA more authority to be able to control carbon, so that you're going to run everybody's energy bills up. And in every one of these regards, she's wrong for Missouri. And I think somebody who's willing to take that battle to her and make those points, I think other people are going to hear more than just one thing over and over and over again. I
don't know. Maybe as a political observer, I see it differently here. I think for the next week, all you're going to hear from Democrats is your comments. And look, I'm a Christian, so I believe in forgiveness, and I know I could just tell by the sound of your voice you're probably very, very sincere in your apology. But I think there's one political reality that has to be faced by you in your campaign, and that is that, the reality here is Democrats now have a ton of ammunition, and they are going to try and use these remarks to hurt everybody they can. And if I was put in that position, I would at least be thinking about what is in the best interest of the party, what is in the best interest of, Mitt Romney in this case, what's in the best interest of the people of Missouri. Are they going to be able to hear a campaign about issues, or is this going to be the distraction in the campaign? You're not even considering that? No, those are all legitimate points, Sean, and that's I'm trained as an engineer, and you look at both sides of the equation and you say, what are the pros and the cons? On the other side here, though, here you have somebody who's a conservative, who's unabashed pro-lifer, where Claire McCaskill is the exact opposite, and you've got a real contrast and a simple choice for the people of the state of Missouri. And I think that strong voting record and the record that's exact opposite of her, the question is, does that overcome, the question of people that are upset about one word spoken in one day in one sentence? And I think that there is an awful lot of still people that believe in mercy and forgiveness and God's love. I made a single error in one sentence. Maybe the Democrats or certain people won't want to forget that or want to try to use that as a political weapon. But I think that the people of Missouri are big enough to take a look at the overall package and say, hey, this Obama is about to break our country, and Claire McCaskill is a rubber stamp for him, and so we need somebody who's going to take the fight to them, and I believe we're going to do that. Well, I think as you try and, as this goes on, I think you're probably going to face some of the questions that I gave you earlier here, and that is specifically, what you meant by legitimate rape, what you meant by the female body having ways to shut that whole thing down. And I think it's going to be much, much harder than you think. And I just would tell you, based on, just a snap poll of conservatives that are writing me even at this minute, that are listening to this right now, is that there's so much at stake. And, I'm reading an email from a friend of mine right now. This is bigger than one person. This is going to set us back. So, obviously that's a decision you're going to have to make. I'm not in the business of telling people or advising people what to do with their campaigns, but will you consider that in the next 24 hours? Well,
all of those things have to be taken a good look at, and I appreciate your perspective, and also, so yeah, I continuously be taking a look at all those different alternatives. At this point, my sense is that the right thing to do.
All right, Congressman, I don't mean to cut you short, but we're on a hard break here. We appreciate you being with us. We'll be watching very closely. Thank you for being with us.
Sean Hannity, 770 KKOB.
The Good Book is now a great game. Hi, I'm Jeff Foxworthy, and I'm hosting the American Bible Challenge.